Vintage View, Episode 3, Famiclones.
Hello, vintage gaming fans, and welcome to the stage, the Famiclone.
What exactly is a Famiclone?
You don't know what a Famiclone is?
Nope.
Well, a Famiclone is a console that kind of simulates the Nintendo Famicom. It came about for many economical reasons, but I think we'll continue to talk about this for the rest of the episode. How's that sound?
That sounds good. I actually do know what a Famiclone is, but I want to give you my first experience with Famiclones, and then we can kind of discuss, what kind of things are Famiclones and all that fun stuff about them.
Okay.
So I was with my mom and her best friend, and we were walking through a mall in Tucson, Arizona. And it wasn't in a store. It was one of those little carts that they have in the middle of the
kiosk.
Yeah, like one of those cart kiosk things. And the guy was selling what looked like an N64 controller with a full cartridge slot at the bottom, had an AV port, and it had an optional. It actually looked like a regular handgun attachment, I guess for light games. But I remember that my mom's friend bought one, and she didn't like it, so she was going to go return it, and the person wasn't there anymore. This was, I think it was early 2000s, maybe 2001 or something. And that was my first experience really with a Famiclone. And at that time, Nintendo was actively trying to get people that were selling them. So I think that may have been what happened. Someone got a hold of one and kind of pulled the plug, and then it was gone. But that was my first experience. You, however, have like 500 of them at this point because you're addicted to it.
I wouldn't say 500, but I would absolutely agree that I am addicted to them. I find them fascinating because originally I was looking for, obviously, more consoles to play. And I didn't know in any way at that point how to expand my video game library to the Nintendo Famicom. So I saw somebody on YouTube, maybe 2008, 2009-ish, so it's late in the 2000s. They were playing, I think it was Mother, on a Famiclone, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So when I started thrifting, I kept my eyes out just to see if I could find them. I didn't know anything about the, Nintendo trying to take them down. I didn't know that yet. I just knew that I wanted one, and there were quite a few that I was looking for. Oh my gosh, the one does kind of look like an N64 controller, but also like a jet, and it also kind of doubles as the light gun.
Ew.
Power Joy, I think it is.
Well, that one, there's a picture on the Wikipedia that they call it the Gun Boy.
Let me see here, the Gun Boy.
The
Gun Boy,
ugly.
Yeah, it's not like that one. I have a blue one like that one that's called something else, but definitely the Power Joy, I think it was. It looks like a jet kind of molded out of an N64 controller, and it has the pistol grip and stuff. And one thing you said was it actually had a gun for the light games. Some of them do, and that is one thing that I found extremely fascinating is how close a lot of those look like real guns.
This one did look like almost like a service revolver from not a revolver, but a service gun from a police officer.
Yeah, I have 3 literally right here in front of me. One of them is silver with black pistol grips, one is silver with brown pistol grips, and one is completely orange. So the one of them would have been perfectly legal within the United States under the terms of, light gun controller making, I suppose. But when I found my first Famiclone, I think it was one of the Oh, see, the Super Joy. There we go. It was a Super Joy 3, which looks exactly like the N64 controller. And I picked that up and I brought it home, and
That's
all the
one I
built-in
had.
games and stuff. It was awesome, at least to me. And then the next one I picked up was one of the Power Joys. But little did I know, this goes much further than just the little handheld controllers. So then I started looking around and found the consoles that look like a real Famicom. Some of them can be red and white. Some of them can be black and yellow. They could be any color.
Not gonna
So
lie, I wouldn't mind having one of those because that would look kind of cool on the shelf.
yeah, they actually do. Um, I can't remember which one mine is because the brands are all over the place. But it looks exactly like a Famicom. The controllers go on the side, and every once in a while I'll pull it out and hook it up and play it as if it's a regular Famicom. The problem being, it is a chip instead of real clone hardware, which again, that's another caveat of the whole situation is sometimes you got a blob, and then sometimes you have the chips, the individual chips that are actually cloned. So you got the GPU and the PPU. I said PP, and those are actually
Really?
cloned. I went there because I had to,
Well, I
but
just checked on something.
Mhm.
Nintendo's patents on the Famicom expired in 2003 and 2005. That's why
Okay,
I think we're seeing a lot of those Famiclones, like the Retro USB AVS,
true.
the Retron 5, all of those. Although the Retron 5 is technically a clone, it's not exactly a traditional clone because that one basically emulates. It's basically a computer just with software emulation, but
Yeah,
it still kind of falls into that category.
but they make them in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Have you seen the race car Famiclone?
No, what about
Yep.
the Generation Next, where you could have like
Um,
the NES games in the front and the Famicom on top?
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
I just
Another
googled it.
Okay. Another thing is I've seen not in person, but I've seen online a lot of the keyboards that are Famiclones, and those look really awesome to me.
Wow, I kind of want one of those because my understanding is some of them actually had a version of like BASIC on it. That'd be kind of cool to program some
Yeah,
stuff there.
I actually had a website that I no longer have, ownership of, but I did a lot of Famiclone stuff on the side of TVG. But, one of the people
Trader.
that was helping me, yeah, I tried. But the guy who was helping me, he had even more Famiclones than I did, believe it or not. And he was really into the keyboard versions. And there's a famous advertisement of Jackie Chan promoting one. So even Jackie Chan was in promoting some of those.
He may not have known what they were doing, or it was after the patents expired.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, now that I'm looking at the Generation Next, yeah, those things looked really cool back in the day. But my question is, how well did it work? We're going to have to find one and find out.
That I honestly have no clue on that one.
Here's another thing. I think it would fall into the category of a Famiclone. The plug-in that I have for my Super Nintendo that plays Famicom, Nintendo, and Super Nintendo games.
I mean, yeah, that does fall into that category because the hardware is there. It's not
Yeah,
software emulated like some of the newer consoles.
yeah.
So
The
that would be
Super
kind of
8.
interesting.
I think they had these in a couple different names too, but mine's the Super 8, and
Yeah.
it, it, it's multi-purpose because it allows me to play, like I said, Famicom and regular Nintendo games through the power of the Super Nintendo. But it also allows any sort of Super Nintendo game. It has no lockout. So that's another bonus that's really good about that. Now, what about
Wow.
something like a Genesis clone?
You
While
know,
technically not a Famiclone, it's still a clone of some sort.
I mean, I know they're out there, but I think in general the Famicom or the NES are probably the most common.
True.
But then again, you get other ones like the um actually, you know what? A GB Boy is basically a clone, but you can actually play real cartridges in it and stuff.
True. Yeah.
But that's a clone of a Game Boy. So that's another kind of a clone. Um then you have, but it's funny though, you see Wii clones and you see Game Boy clones and all this other stuff, and they're almost always NES games. And a lot of
Yeah.
them aren't even official NES games. There's a few of them on there, but a lot of them are like hacked ROMs and everything to make them look like they're different games and
You
all
bring
this
up a
other
good
stuff.
point. I
Yeah.
have something, I can't remember what it's called because it's packed away and I've not seen it in years, but I just remembered I had it. Was like it has, like you said, ROM hacks in it. Like they would take the craziest, Famicom games that were, I guess they would kind of be the equivalent of the American Black Label games like Super Mario and Tetris and Clue Clue and stuff like that. And they modified them and put them on these consoles, but they're totally derivative of something else. So I would imagine that somehow legal, I guess. I'm not a lawyer and don't claim to be, so I can't
Well,
definitively say.
my understanding is if someone changes something 20% or more,
Okay.
they can legally consider it parody. But if they're
Ah,
trying to make a whole other game out of it, I don't know if that falls into that category.
in.
But I will say one thing when it comes down to some of these games is a lot of them, because they're the same kind of games you get on those, pirate multi-cards. And there was one that I was looking at. I was watching some guy on YouTube, and he was saying that some of the games on there, it's like super Murder Brothers, and there was like I don't know, they were just all like really messed up games. There was even one that was like a racist game. It was referencing an organization of people that wear white hoods and stuff. But that
Yeah.
was a Super Mario Brothers hack, and it's like, what are they putting these on there for? But they're probably
I
trying to get around the
I
copyright or something.
I think they might not even really know because, like you said, there were a lot of horrifying Super Mario hacks back in the day.
Yes.
Because I guess it was just simple to modify, and with the internet, people are going to be people, and just finding them all over the place. And maybe the people who are looking for games to go on these cartridges, the multi-carts and the consoles and all that stuff, maybe they're just looking for anything and everything. And even though Super Mario Brothers is really easy to access, that might just be something that comes across their view first, possibly.
That makes sense, and that might also explain some of the other games, like you get like Super Mario 8 and
Yeah.
all that stuff on there, and is clearly just a ROM hack of like Super Mario 3 or even Super Mario 2.
I'm trying to remember where I have it, but it's like Mari Pandy or something, where basically they've taken Mario out and made it a panda, but it's Super Mario Brothers 1. And
Yeah.
it might sound silly, but somehow it does kind of make the game feel different. Even though it's just a sprite change, it somehow makes the game feel different. And I can't explain it. Maybe it's just me going, I don't know. But it somehow makes it different. And then I had read about something called like Somari, where
Oh yeah.
they didn't get the scrolling right in the programming or something. So it makes Mario different, or more difficult rather.
Yeah, but wasn't that
So
like an NES or not NES, like a PC port that someone was making?
I don't know. You can easily do it with an NES cartridge, but the thing is, I found it on Famiclones before.
Okay.
Because again, I think they just find these ROM hacks or whatever, and they're just
Oh,
like,
okay.
throw it on there, you
Well, the
know?
Somari is an unlicensed recreation of Sonic the Hedgehog with Mario in it.
Oh, okay. No. You're right. What was I thinking?
I mean, that's one heck
No, you're
of a
right.
ROM hack, though. I mean,
No, yeah. Yeah. Oh, what was I thinking? But anyways, it's just the mirroring on the Super Mario regular thing. Um, they just grabbed that and threw that on there. So I think honestly, if I'm allowed to speak about my absolute favorite Famiclone, it is the
no, you're
Super
not allowed.
Joy 4. Oh, I'm not? Oh, okay. Never mind then. I won't talk about it at all,
No.
ever.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
gonna talk about it. Shut up. You know you
I
are.
am. I am. Yeah. It is the Super Joy 4, whether people even know about this or not, because the 3, as we discussed, looks like the N64 controller. What do you think the 4 looks like?
GameCube. I don't know.
It is a Wavebird. The
I just
GameCube
Googled it.
Wavebird. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That actually may be. No, no. I don't know what that other controller is. Never mind. I was gonna say that may be the one that we were seeing because it's the same kind of thing, but this gun has an orange tip.
Yeah. And again, not to brag, but yeah, that's mine.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I found it. Power Player 76,001. That's it.
You
I
found the
found it.
one from all the way back then?
Yeah, because it also had a Sega Genesis controller.
Yes.
And there's the gun, but it does have an orange tip on this one.
Yeah, those Sega Genesis type controllers are absolute junk.
Oh, yeah. Especially the wireless looking ones.
Oh, don't forget the fact that I have one in the shape of a penguin. This one, now I'm going to just flesh this out with a story, and hopefully a lot of people will heed my advice, okay? I was driving past a Goodwill, and I didn't feel like going in. I'm just like, nope, I don't want to go in. I don't want to deal with this. But something in the back of my head kept saying, go in, check it out. Go in, check it out. I'm like, it's just going to be the same Goodwill fodder all over the store, and I'm just going to come out exhausted and more bored than I was 5 seconds ago. So against my better judgment, I went in. And there on one of the toy shelves was this box with a plastic little penguin on it. And I'm going, can that be? Because I had seen them before. And it was. And it was complete in the box. It had the extra controllers, which what sparked this was the fact that they are wireless controllers. And the wireless controllers, they're okay. I mean, they work, but they're not great. And I believe you have to actually plug controller 2 into controller 1. So that kind of makes things a little bit worse.
That is a little awkward.
Yeah. Was the Philips CDI, I know I'm kind of getting off track, but wasn't the Philips CDI or something like that? You had to plug in, because player 1 plugged into the console, and player 2 had to plug into player 1's controller, I think.
I'll be honest with you, I don't remember.
I would love for all the comments to be like, you idiot, this is how it's done, because, that's how we learn. Minus the idiot part. But,
well, you are an idiot.
Well, hey, don't tell everybody that. They'll find that out on their own. They'll figure it out. But yeah, the cartridge goes into the back of the Penguin. I believe you press the beak in, and its eyes are red LEDs, and it glows.
Oh, that's weird.
So, yeah, the whole console is really cool. But it is, through and through, it is a Famiclone. And that, again, that's not my favorite, because the Super Joy 4 is. But it's still one of the coolest. We will Google Penguin Famiclone.
I do have a couple of well, no, I had 2 Famiclones. I may have sent them to you. It was the Yobo FC.
No.
Or maybe it came to someone else, because it was a square thing that had controllers with 4 buttons. I had 2 of them, both gotten from Goodwill. One took Famicom games, and it had NES style controller ports. The other one took NES games, but the controller ports were the same as like a Genesis or an Atari.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of weird, but the controllers themselves had 4 buttons. It was A and B, but they were turbo.
I really wanted one of those with the Nintendo controller inputs, because that one would have been really awesome. And I've seen them on the internet. I've just never met one in person. And I think those are really cool. I just don't have one.
Well, this one actually looks cooler than the one I had, but it's the same shape. Oh, and this one has a... Okay, never mind. So apparently there is one out there that has NES cartridge or NES plugs and does NES games. That's weird.
Now, there's a little bit of a DIY project that I have going on, if I may slide that in. I have the guts of one of the Super Joy 3s because I found it at the Goodwill outlet store and it was crushed. But the guts worked, so I took the guts out and I wanted to modify it and turn it into a console. And thanks to many of the online Far East, I guess we could say, suppliers, I have 2 NES controller ports. When I'm going to finalize this project, I don't know. But it is a nice project in my mind.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah,
something that should be done.
I was thinking of making a little wooden box for it or something, just to kind of have just a little Famiclone made out of wood. But I want something more substantial. And currently, well, yes, it is. But I don't have a 3D printer, and that would probably be the best way, is to just 3D print some sort of console shell.
I would love a 3D printer. I'm actually considering, once I get back to actually working and everything, because unfortunately I'm unable to work right now because of my injury. But hey, I was given to go back to work as long as I can work from home. But as soon as I get back on my feet and get caught up on my bills and everything, one thing I'm planning on doing, since my friend's got a car and she wants to drive to the next town over, because unfortunately I live in a suburb of a large town, as you did growing up. I'm going to head over to Micro Center because I see coupons on Facebook all the time, saying, hey, you can get a 3D printer for $100. May not be the best, but it might be something to get started on. And I could print you out one.
Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we should probably talk about the reason why Famiclones came about, which, from my understanding, is there were many places where Nintendo refused to ship their consoles for one reason or another. And these countries saw that something existed, and they wanted one for their own country, and they just decided to make them. And to me, I know that there's a lot of, other situations that go into it, but to me, that industrious forethought maybe not even forethought, but that, just to go ahead and build your own. That
Well,
I like that.
well, part of that was Russia, like Eastern Europe, because Nintendo didn't care about them until what, mid '80s maybe, and then because they're already clones at that point. I
Yeah.
would love to have one of the original clones, not these mass market whatevers, but and then there's also the Asian market. So that's like uh Malaysia, Laos, all them. They didn't have any consoles made by Nintendo because there wasn't a market. Now obviously there's Nintendo of Europe, which probably covers Russia, and then um there's not Nintendo of Asia, but blah, 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 tongue tied there. Nintendo does market some games or consoles and everything for the Asian market. I mean, that's how I ended up getting my Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 for the Switch. They didn't release it physically in the United States, so I had to buy an imported copy from Asia, and one of the languages on there because there are some Asian countries where the official language is English. That's how I got it.
Interesting.
We got off on a tangent though, but it was mostly Eastern Europe and Asia, from what I understand, that was basically forsaken by Nintendo, so they made their own consoles.
Yeah.
They
But I
imported a
really
whole
like
bunch, backwards engineered them.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I really like about it is the fact that they're like, you know what, we're gonna make this on our own. And Brazil was really good at doing that as well. But
Well,
theirs was more, if it's not built within our country, it's heavily taxed. So I think that
well,
that was probably more of a convenience thing, that it's cheaper to have it. Plus, it helps the economy to build
well,
it in country.
Brazil, they have the official Sega Genesis 4.
True, true.
Never released in the United States or anywhere outside of Brazil, but Sega didn't make it, but Sega did give them permission because they wanted something, and so a small percentage of each one, I'm sure, goes to Sega.
Probably.
But yeah, that's a pretty big one. So technically, it's a clone, but it's made under license.
Sure. Now, with all my Famiclones, I've been trying to figure out whether they made a Game Genie for the Famicom. And somewhere in South America, I don't remember which country it is, they actually did have like their own Famicom size Game Genie. As it is right now, I have to use like the 60 to 72 pin adapter, and then the Game Genie on top of that, and then the 72 to 60 pin adapter with the Famicom game on top of that. So it can be done. And as far as I remember, which, as we've discussed, it's faulty, but I do believe it works that way. It's just a lot more, involved than it should be.
Well, might be the best idea there.
It might be.
I think we kind of ran out of things to talk about. We just got quiet there for a second.
I think everybody at this point is sick of hearing about Famiclones, but I'm not.
So, hey, if you've got something to comment, you can always go to our Discord and drop a message. You can go to Facebook, Twitter. I'm sorry, it's X now. You can go to Instagram. Just drop us a line. Our socials are in the description of the video. Well, people, till next week, I'll see you later.